Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sah Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Bhadram Karnebhih Shrunuyama Devaah Bhadram Pashyemakshabhiryajatraah Sthirairangai Sasthanobhih Vyasema Devahitam Yadayuh Swasti na Indro Vriddhashravah Swasti na Pusha Visvavedah Swasti nastakshyo arishtanemihi Swasti no brihaspatirdadhatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So may I request everyone to put on their videos for a few minutes. Still 2 videos. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So last time we concluded with a question. The question was depersonalization, right? Am I right? So isn't Vedanta teaching something which promotes a disorder? So depersonalization is a disorder. What is that disorder? It's a disorder where the person's identity, a person is confused about the identity, or not exactly, person is confused about the identity. Let me put it in a better way. Person is not in touch with himself or herself. So who is the doer? Who is doing the things? I am the doer. I am the person who is doing the things through this body. That confusion is there. The person thinks as if somebody else is doing, okay, even if the person is doing it. So it's a kind of a disorder. It's a confusion. And in Vedanta, especially what the Bhagavad Gita is teaching, it is teaching that you are not the real doer. Okay, so it looks as though what Bhagavad Gita is teaching is same as what is the outcome of the disorder. I mean, what is the outcome of the teaching of the Bhagavad Gita is same as the disorder as defined in the books. Correct? Am I right? Mm-hmm. So I did give some answer. So I want to know something from you people, all of you. What do you want to say? So is Bhagavad Gita promoting the disorder? Hello. Is Bhagavad Gita making you a sick person? Please put on your mic. Here, I can't hear you.
No.
No. But that is out of Shraddha. Or you have an answer to it.
It teaches like how to be objective. Like I'm doing something, same I'm objective also towards.
Yeah, I'm objective, that is fine. But it is teaching one step even more than being objective. And that is a borderline of disorder. But let me tell you one thing. Anyone having that disorder, you just bring that person to me. Okay? And if the person has some trust on me, I can bet within a period of 2 to 3 years, the person will be in order. In fact, what the disorder is, actually it can be converted into an advantage. But it is a premature understanding or premature thinking of the mind. Certain things are not clear. And because of that, on one hand, the disorder happens because there is a resistance from within the mind. Okay? A portion of mind fights and says, no, you are the doer. Whereas some portion of the mind says you are not the doer. And there is no understanding. And because of that fight, it comes out as a disorder. Okay? But when that fight is over, when there is an acceptance in both the faculty of mind, the one which says I am the doer and the one which says I am not the doer. Okay? When they are aligned, then it becomes so easy. One can toggle. I use the word toggle. Okay? I used it last time also. Toggling means switching. One can switch from one side to the other and from the second side to the first one at will. Okay? It just happens smoothly without any conflict. And that is the miracle of understanding. Okay? When that knowledge takes place, when the knowledge is uncovers that ignorance about the self-identity, this happens so easily, so smoothly. Okay? Is it clear? Or any doubt with anybody? I mean, anybody having any doubt? It's, I will recall both the words, the karta and the bhokta. Okay? And karta means the doer. Bhokta means the recipient of the results of action, or enjoyer, we say. Enjoyer, as I said, not in the sense of only enjoyment, not just the pleasure part, even the pain part. Okay? So the karta is the doer, bhokta is the enjoyer. Now the enjoyer, the bhokta, drives the karta. All my actions generally are driven by the bhokta. So bhokta is the basic person, the core personality. And because that's how we are born. A child is predominantly a bhokta. A small newborn child, if you take, is predominantly a bhokta. And so that is the core personality. The doership comes a bit later, that I am the doer of the action. So it comes later. And even in the Panchakoshas, which we talk about, it is discussed in the Taittiriya Upanishad. The physical body, the Annamaya, then the subtle body, the Pranamaya. So the subtle body is subtler than the gross body or the physical body, and it has a control over the gross body, the Annamaya. Then Manomaya, which involves the mind. Manomaya is subtler than the pranamaya. It is even subtler than the pranamaya. Pranamaya is the different pranas, the different, all the metabolic functions which take place within my body and keeps it alive. Then the mind is subtler than this subtle body, the pranamaya. It guides the pranamaya, it controls the pranamaya. Okay, then comes the Vijnanamaya. Vijnanamaya is that portion of mind or that functionality of mind which, it's not the portion, let me edit my words. It's that functionality of mind which makes a person a doer. A person decides and takes a very conscious decision of certain things. So that is there the karta begins, the doer begins. Okay, that is the realm of doership, and that doer controls the mind because it is subtler than the mind. Then the subtler than the Vijnanamaya, or what we call as the buddhi, the doer, is the Anandamaya, and that is the seat of the bhokta. Bhokta means the enjoyer, and enjoyer controls the Vijnanamaya, means the doer, the I as a doer. Okay, so even in that hierarchy, the enjoyer is subtler and more powerful than the doer. And this we see all the time. And enjoyer, doer are interrelated. Okay, they go hand in hand. Now, the whole trick is, we will see in the Bhagavad Gita today's shlokas, once we have that clarity, because it does talk about freedom from doership, then suddenly, as I said, the shlokas are strewn, is thrown over like pebbles all around. Suddenly, Lord Krishna talks about the different types of yajna. Then one wonders, what is the connection between the yajna and the doership, or the sublation or negation of doership? What are the connections? Suddenly, why this a new topic comes up or is coming up, and how it is related? Now, let me tell you. All the yajna, what they do is, they that enjoyer in me, the bhokta in me, it gets changed. How? Because yajna is any action performed not for myself, but it is for the Lord. Okay? Whoever the Lord is, I mean, each one can have a different form of Lord. So the action is performed for the Lord and not for myself. So the bhokta gets sublated, negated, and because the bhokta is negated, the doership also gets sublated. Just remember that example. General Dyer ordering his soldiers to fire upon the general public, the Indians, in 1919 in Punjab, Jallianwala Bagh. Okay, so even though he didn't fire any shot, but the shots were fired on his order. So the soldiers were shooting on his behalf. Correct? Okay. Am I able to convey? Okay. So the soldiers were shooting on his behalf. So they were not directly responsible for the act, but the act was performed for General Dyer by the soldiers. Got it? And that's how the soldiers were least responsible for the action, whereas the general was most responsible for that action of shooting. Similarly, when we are performing an action with an attitude of yagnya means offering, which we will see today, then that action is performed not for myself, but for the sake of my Lord, in whichever form I worship. Okay, so the doership, the results of the action, it goes to my Lord. Okay, to Bhagavan. And because the results goes to the Bhagavan and I am performing on behalf of Bhagavan, so my doership also gets negated to a good extent. Okay, just as the soldiers were performing for General Dyer, correct, in that incident. Similarly, here I am performing the action for my Bhagavan. So the doership, even though I am doing the things, but the doership is diluted. And once the doership is diluted, things are different. Okay, and then that even the enjoyership, it doesn't get strengthened. It starts getting diluted, and that seat of all the pleasure and the pain is same. So if I want only pleasure to come and pain not to come, it will never happen. If I welcome pleasure, then I have to welcome pain too. That is, I mean, both of them go hand in hand. So if I am intensely enjoying the pleasure part, then I have to intensely enjoy the pain part too. Okay. So this is how the things move. We will go further in a little deeper as we move in the shlokas. Rajesh ji, can you please show us the shlokas?
Sure. Is correct?
Yeah, correct. Namam karmani limpanti, name karma phale spriha, itimam yo bhijanati, karma bhirna sabadhyate. Evam jnatva kritam karma, purvairapi mumukshubhihi, kuru karmaiva tasmatvam, purvaih purvataram kritam. Okay. So, what Bhagavan says, Namam karmani limpanti. The karmas don't bind me. Again, the question comes, who cares whether the karma binds me or not? Okay. Name karma phale spriha. I am not attached to the fruits of the action, the results of the action. Iti mam yo bhijanati. The one who knows me this way, even that person is not bound by karma, by actions. So, well, my problem is how to avoid sorrow. Okay, a lasting solution to my sorrows. And here you are talking about that you don't get attached to, or you don't get affected by the karmas and all. Whether I get affected by the karmas or not, I don't care. You talk about my sorrow, the solution to my sorrows. Well, we are talking that only. Because if karma binds you, what does it mean? It means that karma is affecting you as an enjoyer. Okay? As a bhokta, you get affected by the results of karma. And let me repeat it, even if I repeat it 10 times, 100 times, it is still worth it. What I am saying is, pleasure and pain, they go hand in hand. You cannot have just filtered out pleasure coming to you and pain never comes to you. It never happens. So if I perform my actions, keeping in mind that only pleasure will come, pain will not come, it's not going to happen. Pain will also come. At times, pleasure will come. At times, pain will come. But if I perform the actions in such a way that I am not affected by either pleasure, neither the pleasure nor the pain, and that is the only solution, or only way I can be free from pain. Being free from pain, fortunately or unfortunately, also means being free from pleasure. Free from pleasure and pain means what? The sensations do happen. The body will get affected. But me as a person, I don't label myself as a winner or a loser, as a person who is an achiever or as a victim. Okay, that conclusion is my own. And once I learn to handle that conclusion, that connection of the karma giving, affecting my body, my mind, my senses, and that affection, I don't translate it into being a achiever or a victim. That this small connection makes me free from pleasure and pain, or not free from pleasure and pain. I'll give you with an example. Okay. I'll explain this to you with an example. Now, we all have gone through vaccination, even in your country, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And most of the vaccines are through those injections,
Yes.
correct? If I'm not
Yes.
wrong. Okay. Now tell me, if anybody pokes a needle in your body, do you like it?
No.
Normally we don't, correct?
Yes.
In fact, nobody likes it. But with all my knowledge about the vaccines and how it protects me, okay, I happily go and get poked with a needle. And after being poked, I happily come out, don't I? Isn't it? Most of us.
Yes. Yeah.
Isn't it true?
That's true. Yeah.
I want to see everybody's face here.
Yes. True.
Yeah. Which mode? I don't know how to do it. Rajesh ji?
Oh, you want to stop sharing?
Yeah, for a moment.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, what I wanted to say, I happily come out, most of us come out happily after getting poked with a needle when it comes to a vaccine, correct? But otherwise, normally, if without any reason somebody pokes me, I will come out unhappily, correct? The sensation remaining the same. How the needle affects my body, it remains the same. Correct? In both the cases. But in one, I am happy, and in the other one, I am unhappy. Correct? So the conclusion of a sensation is in my hands. Do you get my point? Being affected by a sensation in a particular way and not being affected by the same sensation in another way is in my hands. And this is the key to happiness or unhappiness or freedom from sorrow or being sorrowful. Anything happening is a happening. Okay? My body getting affected, my mind getting affected, my whole system getting affected is an event. But that event, how I interpret, what conclusion I bring out of that that event is in my hands. And that is where all this knowledge, this attitude, and this understanding of karta, bhokta, and the action being performed for my sake or for the sake of my Lord, all these things become important. If I am doing something, for example, I'm carrying my grandchild, a small grandchild, okay? So even if my shoulders are paining or my hand is in pain, but if the child is comfortable and happy with it, what do? I happily endure that pain. Correct? But if the same pain comes because of some other reason, I immediately try to avoid it. So the pain remaining same, my responses are different based on my understanding. Is it clear?
Yeah.
And that is the trick. That is the trick of avoiding sorrow. That it is in my hand. And how I look at it, how I interpret it, that decides whether I am a victim or not a victim. It could be just a painful situation. It comes and goes away, and I don't feel victimized. Or I may feel victimized. I am full of sorrow, and I continue with my sorrow. I share my sorrow with others and make others also sorrowful. So that part is in my hand. And that is where the role of bhokta comes. If the bhokta has decided that even the pain is fine with me, okay, as in the case of vaccination, then the pain is not going to make the bhokta unhappy. In fact, it will make him happy. Correct? So this decides whether I will be in pain, I will be sorrowful, I will feel victimized or not. Correct? Okay, let us go into the shlokas.
Sure.
So Lord says, Namam karmani limpanti name karma phale spriha. So the karmas don't bind me, nor I am attached to the fruits of action. Why I am not attached to the fruits of actions? Because I am fulfilled even without any results of action accruing to me. I just enjoy being myself. I don't need anything to feel a sense of fulfillment. And anybody who knows this trick will also be free from karma and the results of karma. What does it mean? The results of karma will not affect that person. Why? Because even without the result or with the result, the person is already fulfilled. Evam jnatva kritam karma purvaih api mumukshubhihi kuru karmeva tasmatvam purvaih purvataram kritam. So having known this, people had performed action in the ancient times, and those mumukshus means those who are desirous of moksha, freedom from sorrow, permanent freedom from sorrow. So they performed actions with this knowledge, and they also achieved that. Then Bhagwan switches over. It is important to know what is karma, what is to be done, and what is not to be done. Even the most intelligent or wise people are confused about this. So I'm going to explain this thing about karma, the details about the karma here, so that you become free from ashubhat. Ashubhat means free from the evil effects of karma. Next sloka. Next slide. Karmani akarma yah pashyet akarmani cha karma yah sabuddhiman manusheshu sayuktah kritsna karma krit. This is it's a puzzle. The one who sees karma or action in inaction, karmani akarma, inaction in action and action in inaction, that person is a wise person. And he is the one who has as though performed all the actions. Now, what does it mean? Seeing action in inaction and inaction in action. The person has lost balance of mind or what? Then only one can see this way. No, we have to understand this. Normally, what we call as action could be inaction. And what we call as inaction could also be an action. How? Whether we have to now understand two words. I will bring out one word called activity. Some activity going on. Now that activity can be an action or inaction. How? When the activity is connected with a doer, then it becomes an action. But if the activity is without doership, then it is inaction. In fact, even not doing something can be an action. For example, if I retain my urge of urination or passing the stool, okay, we do at times when we are in a car or somewhere in a traffic jam and we have a urge to pass urine, but there is no proper place and we have to wait. Okay, in India it happens. I'm sure that traffic jam problem may not be there in your country, but some other compulsions might be there, right? So restraining that urge also is an action. Why? Because there is a doership. So not doing something can also become an action. Whereas involuntarily, just I'm walking and inadvertently or just by mistake, I touch something or I hit something without any intention. So even though it is an action, but it is inaction. Why? Because there was no doership, there was no intention to do that thing. Okay, I'm walking and suddenly I hit something a glassware and it falls down and it breaks. Correct? It's a big thing happening. But still, it will come under inaction because there was no intent to do it. And there was no purpose. The doer was not present when the thing was happening. It was just by mistake it happened. Correct? So doer, connection with doer decides whether an activity is an action or inaction. Clear?
Yeah.
And that is the secret. One can perform all the activities, and if the doership is diluted or sublated, it remains inaction. And one need not perform anything, sitting tightly and holding on one's action, preventing oneself from doing an action. Even that can be an action because there is a doership, there is a volition, there is a conscious choice of not doing. And that becomes an action. So, because you remember, Arjuna in the first chapter itself, he was arguing, why should I be fighting? And I should just give up all this and go away. In fact, I will be happy begging, living on alms and whatever I get out of begging, rather than killing my near and dear ones. So he thought not doing the things, he will be free from all the actions which is involved in the killing of people in this war. But Bhagavan says, just because you are not performing something doesn't make it as inaction. It can still be an action. You may be performing something in mind, and that also is an action. And if you are even killing people without any intent or without any reason for yourself, it is for the sake of a larger cause or for the sake of Bhagavan, then also you are free from that action of killing. Just as those soldiers who shot on the orders of General Dyer. Correct? Okay. So, yasya sarve samarambhaha kama sankalpa varjitaha jnanagni dagdha karmanam tamahu panditam buddha. So, for a person or for those persons whose all undertakings, all beginnings of actions are free from desire. Free from which kind of a desire? Where that person is the beneficiary, that kind of desire. Otherwise, some desire will always be there. So, where the person is, the performer is the beneficiary, that desire is not there. Okay? So, for such a person, with that wisdom of fire, all the actions get burnt and there are no results accruing to that person. That means what? The person becomes immune to the results of the actions. The results of the action will not bring pleasure and pain to this person. Tyaktva karma phala sangam nitya tripto nirashrayah karmani abhipravrittopi naiva kinchit karoti saha. So one who has given up the results of action for himself or herself, and one who is self-contented within oneself, doesn't depend on somebody for happiness. So that person, even if is totally engaged in karma, deeply engaged in karma, even then that person doesn't perform anything. Neither the person performs anything, nor any result will accrue to that person, or the result of actions will bring any sorrow or pleasure to this person. Next set of slokas, please.
Sure.
Yeah, the next two set of shlokas, they I will quickly go through them and then they will remain pending. There are some seven types of yajna which Lord Krishna has mentioned. And as I said earlier, the yajna means what? Offering to the Lord. It involves sacrifice. It involves an attitude of offering. And whatever result comes or whatever is the result of that offering, one accepts as prasada or something which is coming from the Lord. Okay. So different types of yajnas are mentioned. Almost, I counted, there are almost seven major types, let me put it this way. And the purpose of these yajna is, it's a transition between strong sense of enjoyership and total negation of the sense of enjoyership. So it doesn't happen overnight. So a person needs that transition. And all the yajna, the way it is, they are mentioned here, the purpose is that transition happens gradually from a strong bhokta. Strong bhokta means a person with strong sense of enjoyership to a abhokta. Abhokta means with no sense of enjoyership. So it doesn't happen suddenly and it happens gradually through these practices, through these yajnas. Okay. And because it doesn't happen suddenly, there is no disorder which happens. Okay. The disorder which we discussed last time, depersonalization. Such a disorder doesn't happen because things happen gradually, the mind gets trained, and the whole person is transformed step by step, slowly, consciously. It's not helplessly and not being driven by something. So what are these yajnas? So one set of yajna is Daivam eva apare yajnam yoginah paryupasate. Okay. So yajnas is the normal worship to the devas. Okay. We have already discussed what devas mean. So that is also worshipping devas is also considered one type of yajna. Then the next type is everything is Brahman. That vision where I offer myself, my identity of a limited person, and into the fire of Brahman, in the sense, into the vision of Brahman. That deliberate practice is also a kind of yajna. Means what? After my understanding, I keep changing my vision. My present vision is I am the body. And what the scriptures teach me, that I am the whole. So from I am the body to I am the whole, that transition, that deliberate change of vision, where I offer my limited vision in the fire of the bigger vision, is also called a yajna. The next one is Shrotradini Indriyani Anye Sanyamagnishu Jupati. Okay. So the five sense organs, the restraining the five sense organs is also some kind of a yajna. Okay. How I limit myself, what I should be hearing, what I should not be hearing, what I should be seeing, what I should not be seeing, what I should be tasting, what I should not be tasting, and in how much quantity. Okay, so the quality and the quantity, both I control in receiving the sense perception in my sense organs. Okay, that is also through sanyama. Sanyama means through self-restraint. So that also is called a yajna. Then shabdadin vishayani anye indriyagnishu juhvati. So restraining the sense organs, then restraining the sense objects. While receiving, I restrain them. Then while offering the sense objects to the sense organs, there also I put restraint. So that is also called a type of yajna. Then sarvani indriya karmani prana karmani chapare atma sanyama yogagnau juhvati jnana deepite. Okay. Others sacrifice all the functions of their senses and the functions of the pranas. Okay. So all the metabolic functions also, through yoga, I control them and not allow them to go the way they want it, but in a controlled way. So that is also a kind of yajna. Next. द्रव्य यज्ञ तपो यज्ञ योग यज्ञ तथा परे स्वाध्याय ज्ञान यज्ञश्च यतय संसित व्रताः. So dravya yajna, etc. Yajna in which objects are offered to the Lord, some fruits, some precious things we offer. All those things we have already discussed. Now the next line is swadhyaya jnana yajnascha. Even studying, learning is also a yajna. Okay, why? Because my normal tendency is to allow the mind to drift in whichever direction it wants. Whereas whenever I study, the drifting of my mind is restrained and it is brought in focus deliberately. So there is a sacrifice involved. Correct? See, my tendency will be to go and watch TV. Why? In TV or television or whatever movie or something, my mind is passive. It doesn't have to think on its own. The device or the movie or the drama, it decides the way I should be thinking. I don't decide what I should be thinking. So there is less strain on my mind. Whereas when I study, then I have to decide how I have to think. Correct? And there is a strain on my mind. And that is why some kind of sacrifice is involved. From a passive mind, it becomes an active mind. An active mind, making the mind active deliberately is also a yajna, because one has to sacrifice the passive mind to be replaced by the active mind. Then apane juhvati pranam prane panam tatha pare pranapan gatau ruddhva pranayama parayana. So even the pranayama means controlling the breath, is also considered a yajna. Why? Because controlling the breath means what? My tendency may be to breathe out, but the sequence says I must be breathing in. So I sacrifice my natural tendency and deliberately perform some other action. Okay. So when I take a when I breathe in and follow a sequence and a timing, then what I do is I regulate my natural way of breathing and forcibly change it. So my natural way of breathing is sacrificed at the altar of a regulated breathing. So that is also a yajna. And then it is a continuation of that. Some other people, they breathing as well as eating, they regulate and don't go by the natural flow, because natural flow could be indisciplined, whereas regulated one is a very disciplined way. And so the natural way is sacrificed at the altar of a disciplined way, and that becomes a yajna, provided, of course, it is offered to the Lord, and whatever result comes is considered as a prasada, something coming from the Lord. When that way we perform yajna in our daily life, the whole life becomes a yajna. And there is a transition from strong sense of bhokta, of enjoyship, to a negated or sublated sense of enjoyship. And the more loose my sense of enjoyship becomes, the lesser cranky I will be. Nobody wants to be cranky, right? Nobody wants to be frustrated, disappointed, moody. Nobody wants it. But we do go through that. Why? Because we allowed that sense of enjoyship, that bhokta in me, to drift on its own way. We never paid attention to it or regulate it or modify it or start changing it in a different direction. And the result is that I become cranky. Some pain, even if there is a little pain, little fever, I go for, in India at least it happens, we go for paracetamol. The whole thinking has become that fever is a disease. So if you control the fever, your disease is controlled. That's how the thinking is. I don't know what thinking is followed in your place, but here it is like that. Headache, take a painkiller. Some other ache, take this, take that, keep taking. So that tolerance to pain is not there. Little pain, and then I bring down the whole house. I shout at everybody. Whereas there are people, I've seen them, they say, okay, if the pain is there, yes, we will definitely work for it. So whatever is the reason, the cause of the pain, we will try to remove it. But we will not try to remove the pain in itself. Because pain gives an opportunity to take Lord's name. Okay, there are people, they will chant Rama, Rama, oh Lord, Govinda, Krishna. With every bout of pain, they will chant Lord's name. So they say pain gives an opportunity to chant the Lord's name. Remember the Lord. So we will take the medicine, but we will not remove the pain as such. If the pain goes away with removal of the disease, it is fine. And as long as it is there, let it be there. So that is another way of living. I know people who have been living without a thermometer. Thermometer, I'm sure all of you must be knowing, to check the temperature for the last 30, 40 years, and they are alive. Not that they never got a fever. They definitely got a fever. Many a times, every year they get 2 or 3 times, and they get immune. But they don't check their temperature to thermometer. They just feel it, and then whatever needs to be done, they keep doing, and then in 2 or 3 days the fever goes away and they are fine. So that's another way of living. So pain is there. The pain is converted into an opportunity to remember the Lord and to reduce the stronghold of the bhokta. Or you can fuel the bhokta, and even little pain, and you can be like an explosive bursting. So it is very much there. I'm sure Dr. Papneja will be able to throw some light on it, because I remember he was saying there is an institute, or I don't know what, some organization where they teach you how to handle pain with minimum medicine. Could you please speak, Dr. Papneja, here?
Managing pain with the minimal medicine.
Yeah, managing pain with the minimal medicine. So, of course, they may not have spiritual goals,
Right.
but they do have this part in common: managing the pain with minimal, or maybe I'm sure there must be people who may not be taking medicines.
Right. No, sometimes like I'm a dentist, when we give needle, it's painful to people in the mouth.
Correct.
But if we can apply pressure in one of the area,
right,
so that pressure blocks the pain pathway to the brain.
Right.
So the degree of pain is not more than the pressure of that needle.
Got it. Yeah. So the tolerance towards the pain, it increases. And once that increases, it helps. It helps everybody.
Right.
You require lesser intervention of medicines, and you create less problems for others. But if a person is very sensitive to even small pain, that person becomes a pain for everybody. That we all know.
Yeah.
So with this, we stop here. We open for questions. All of you, anything which could not be explained properly?
So what you're saying is,
Yeah.
Karta and Bhokta are two different aspects?
Yes, two different aspects of the personality called me. And Bhokta is little more powerful and more fundamental than the Karta. And when we go in terms of the language of the scriptures, then the Karta is the Vijnanamaya, and Bhokta is the Anandamaya.
Okay. So, but Anandamaya is the Atman, right?
If I say yes, then Rajesh ji will be in trouble, because I cannot stop the class in between.
Okay.
And if I say no, then it will be false. So I choose not to answer.
Okay.
And next time when we meet, I'll be too happy to take up this question to begin with, so that I have some time and some continuity.
Okay.
Okay. So I
Sure.
didn't
Thank
answer your question.
Okay.
Yeah, deliberately. Because if I say yes, then there will be problems. There are holes. So I can't leave it in between.
Okay.
And I cannot say no.
I also have a confusion. Well,
Yeah.
confusion is not the right word.
Okay.
The one that we keep saying, I do,
Yeah.
I do. Is that, I know it's ahamkara, but I have a confusion when I read that it's really Atman that's coming through in a small way into what we all are. So if that is the case, then what is this ego? Is this the reflection of the Atman that's doing that? Or is it, I'm very confused about that.
Oh God. I wish you had asked this question in the beginning of the class and I would have cancelled all
sorry.
my topics and just
this-
answered your question.
I'm sorry.
Because you have asked such a precious question. I really appreciate it. But I feel like bound by time.
Thank you. It's okay.
I mean, what you have asked is, I mean, if that is answered, then afterwards I don't need to continue with any of the classes.
No, that's really not true. I mean, as I said, it's my
Okay,
ongoing struggle to understand.
let me, sorry others, there may be something which I may be telling her and you might not have, I might not have talked to you or you might not be knowing about it, but I do have to answer in a very brief way to her, okay? Just I take 2 minutes of yours. Are you familiar with that mantra of the Mundaka Upanishad, that imagery of two birds?
No.
No. One bird, there are two birds sitting on a branch. Okay. One bird is eating fruits. Sometimes the fruit is sweet, sometimes it is sour, whatever. Whereas the other bird is not eating anything and is just watching. And when this bird, the eater bird, okay, looks at the other bird who is not doing anything, not eating anything, even this bird becomes free from the eating habit or whatever, the activity of eating, just by watching. So that is a beautiful imagery given in the Mundaka Upanishad.
Okay.
Okay, and what it means is the bhokta. The flip side of the bhokta is the self, the real self. As soon as the bhokta looks at, okay, within quotes looks at, there are no eyes involved. As soon as the bhokta looks at the real self, the bhokta is no more a bhokta, it also becomes the real self.
So let me say what I think I understood. It's like having a mirror. So when you look in the mirror.
Yeah, good example, but I don't want to leave you with the concept of mirror. Okay.
No,
it's
I
just
get
an
it.
example. Yeah, always remember that.
I'm just trying to, yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mirror is figurative. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It is all within.
Yes. Yeah, I get that. I'm just, I guess, for a lack of better.
Correct. That's true.
Expressions.
Yeah. True. I got your point.
Yeah, it's a very
Yeah, I'm so happy with your questions, but I feel so helpless because we are just running out of time.
but thank you for at least clarifying a little bit.
Yeah. Shobhaji just joined today for the first time. See, I got an email from her. This is the last class, but she still wanted to join.
I'm so happy.
I'm very happy for her.
I hope she had asked this question in the beginning itself, and we would have changed the topic itself for today. Okay, by the way, any other question from anybody else? Feel free, please, because we may not be meeting for a little length of time. Okay, if you don't have questions, we stop here with a Shanti mantra. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you.
Happy Father's Day to everyone.
Yeah, happy Father's Day to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
You, sir.